Imagine a little girl, barefoot in the scorching heat, carrying her unconscious brother on her back. Hundreds walked past without stopping, until one man noticed. That man was President Ibrahim Traoré. What happened next didn't just save a child's life, it sparked a movement that shook an entire nation. The streets of Ouagadougou were alive with noise. Vendors shouted prices, motorcycles weaved through traffic, and the sun bore down on everything with unrelenting heat. In the middle of the chaos, Ibrahim Traoré's convoy moved slowly, the president observing the people as he often did. He was not a leader who liked to be shut away from reality. Then he saw her, a tiny figure, no more than 9 years old, staggering under the weight of a boy slung across her back. His face was pale, his eyes closed, his chest rising shallowly. The girl's bare feet were cracked and bleeding from the hot ground. She wobbled with each step, but her grip on her brother never loosened. Something inside Ibrahim clenched. The pie. Cars rolled on, but he raised his hand. The convoy halted. Bodyguards looked at him in alarm. "Sir, it isn't safe." But Ibrahim had already opened the door. He stepped into the street, the eyes of the crowd following him in stunned silence. He approached the girl slowly, gently. "My child," he said softly. "Where are you going?" Her voice shook but was steady. "To the clinic. My brother is very sick. It's far, but I must carry him. There is no one else." The crowd around them murmured. People looked away, ashamed that they had walked past. Ibrahim bent down, his gaze locking with hers. "Not today," he whispered. "You will not carry this burden alone." The girl's knees buckled as her brother suddenly went limp. Gasps echoed. Ibrahim caught the boy in his arms just before he hit the ground. The moment froze. This was no longer just a scene on a street. This was the beginning of a story that would ripple across an entire nation. The convoy roared toward the hospital, sirens wailing. Ibrahim sat inside holding the boy, while the girl clutched her brother's hand tightly, tears streaming down her dirt-streaked face. "Tell me your name," Ibrahim asked gently. "Awa," she whispered, "and this is Musa." "How long have you been walking?" "Since morning," she said, her voice breaking. "We live in the outskirts. Grandmother told me to go. She cannot walk. No one would stop for us. So I carried him." Ibrahim's throat tightened. He thought of the miles she must have walked under the burning sun, carrying a weight far too heavy for her small body. "You are very brave, Awa," he said. "Braver than many soldiers I have known." She shook her head, clutching Musa's hand tighter. "No, I am just his sister. I cannot let him die." The vehicle screeched to a halt at the hospital. Doctors rushed forward, lifting Musa onto a stretcher. Awa cried out as they wheeled him away. "Wait!" she screamed. "Don't take him from me!" Ibrahim knelt beside her. "They will help him. Stay strong." Together, they sat in the cold waiting room. Ibrahim placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Her tiny body shook with silent sobs. Minutes crawled by like hours until the doctor finally emerged, his face grim. "He is alive," the doctor said, "but his condition is critical." The air thickened with dread. Awa gripped Ibrahim's hand like a lifeline, eyes wide with fear. This was no longer just about one sick child. It was the beginning of a revelation Ibrahim could not ignore. Inside the hospital room, machines beeped steadily as Musa lay unconscious. His frail body seemed too small for the bed. Awa sat beside him, whispering prayers. Ibrahim stood near the door, his jaw tight, watching. The doctor explained, "Severe malnutrition, dehydration, infection untreated for too long. He was close to organ failure." Awa's tears spilled over. "We had no money for medicine," she whispered. "We fetch water from the well. It makes us sick, but it is all we have." Ibrahim closed his eyes. Anger surged within him, not at Awa or her family, but at a system that allowed this suffering to exist. He sat beside Awa. "You carried him on your back for hours, didn't you?" She nodded. "He is my brother. I could not let him die." The simplicity of her words struck him like thunder. Hours passed in tense silence. Nurses moved in and out, adjusting drips and checking vitals. Each beep of the machine felt like a drumbeat of fate. Finally, the doctor returned. His tone was cautious. "He will live. But his recovery will be long. He needs proper food, medicine, clean water." Relief crashed over Awa. She clutched Ibrahim's arm, sobbing, "Thank you! Thank you for saving him!" But Ibrahim shook his head. "You saved him, Awa. You carried him when no one else would. You are the true hero here." As he looked at the fragile siblings, Ibrahim felt a storm building inside. This was not just one family's tragedy, it was a reflection of countless others, and he knew he could not stay silent. Later that evening, Ibrahim visited the grandmother's home. A mud brick shelter with a leaking roof, its walls crumbling from rain. The grandmother, frail and thin, greeted him with tears. "We have nothing, Excellency. Their parents are gone. I cannot work. Awa does everything. She fetches water, cooks, cares for her brother." Awa looked down, ashamed. "I try, but sometimes we go hungry." Ibrahim's chest tightened. He saw pots with only scraps of porridge, a water jar coated in dust, and worn mats on the floor. "This is not just poverty," he whispered to his aide. "This is neglect by a nation." The truth cut deep. For every Awa and Musa, there were thousands more. Children carrying impossible burdens, families forgotten in silence. He clenched his fists. This ends now. But he knew what such a declaration would mean. Change always came with resistance. That night, Ibrahim could not sleep. He sat alone, memories flooding back. He remembered his own childhood, walking miles barefoot to fetch water, studying by candlelight, hunger gnawing at his belly. He remembered the shame of wearing torn clothes to school. He saw his mother's tired hands, his father's calloused palms, their sacrifices just to keep him alive. And he realized Awa's struggle was his own story repeated in another generation. Tears stung his eyes. "I cannot be president and allow this to continue," he whispered. "If leadership means anything, it must mean protecting the weakest." His decision was made. The next morning, Ibrahim called a press conference. Cameras flashed as he stood before the nation. He told the story of a little girl carrying her sick brother through the streets, unseen by all until he stopped. He did not name her, but every listener felt her presence. "These children are not strangers," he declared. "They are our sons, our daughters, our brothers, our sisters. Their suffering is our shame." He announced sweeping reforms, free emergency health care for children, mobile clinics for rural areas, new water purification programs. The crowd erupted in applause, but behind the cheers lurked shadows, powerful elites whose profits would be threatened, and they would not stay silent. Within days, whispers spread. Powerful figures accused Ibrahim of inventing the story. Foreign media claimed it was staged propaganda. Anonymous messages arrived. "Stop, or more children will suffer." Ibrahim's aides begged him to back down. "Sir, they will ruin you." But he stood firm. "If they ruin me for saving children, then let them. I will not retreat." The threats grew darker. One night, his convoy was nearly ambushed on a rural road. Evidence of sabotage emerged. Funds stolen, supplies blocked. This was no longer just policy. It was war against corruption itself. Ibrahim's response was bold. He returned to Awa's home, this time with cameras rolling. He showed the world her cracked feet, the leaking roof, the frail boy slowly recovering. Tears streamed down Awa's face as she said, "He saved my brother when no one else would." The footage went viral. The nation erupted. Citizens flooded the streets in support. Chants rose, "We are with you! We are with the children!" The elites panicked. Their lies crumbled before the raw truth of a little girl's courage. But still, they plotted their final move. Security forces intercepted documents proving a conspiracy, a planned attack to destabilize the new healthcare initiative. Money trails, linked directly to businessmen, foreign agents, and even government insiders. It was treason, wrapped in greed. Ibrahim's generals urged caution, but he shook his head. "If we bow to this, we betray every child like Awa." He ordered a nationwide crackdown. Arrests followed, powerful men in handcuffs, networks dismantled. The truth was out. The nation gasped. Weeks later, Musa was walking again, his laughter filling the tiny home. Awa returned to school, her dream of becoming a doctor renewed. Their grandmother wept as Ibrahim visited once more. "You gave me hope when I had none," she whispered, but Ibrahim smiled softly. "No, hope was already here. In Awa's strength, in her love, I simply chose not to look away." The reforms spread nationwide. Clinics opened. Children received free treatment. Water flowed clean in villages that had known only sickness. At the palace balcony, Ibrahim looked out at the horizon. "One child changed a nation's path," he murmured. "And as long as I lead, no child will be invisible again." The dawn broke, golden and unyielding. Burkina Faso had been shaken, but it was stronger than ever.